Greetings. I have a message for the individual who sued my wife. This is also for anyone who is interested in my wife's legal case and anyone in the LGBTQ+ community. My name is John Bushnell. I recently put out a video addressed to the same community. If you haven't watched that yet, I would encourage you to. In that video, I explained how my wife, an independent journalist, was sued by a drag performer, and that this drag performer was just awarded $1.1 million, which I am expected to pay. This case is now being appealed to the Idaho Supreme Court. Now, I expect after what I said in my last video that some are going to ask the question, what about the drag performer that sued my wife? What I said was for him just the same, but when speaking to him specifically, there's a little more to say. This is for him. But for anyone who considers themselves like him, you can apply this to yourselves as well. I'm stating up front that what I'm about to say has been given the utmost thought and care. There's two key things I'd like for you to take away from me. The first is the truth. When my wife first spoke about you, I wouldn't say she was speaking in love. That's the truth. This is not to throw her under the bus, as she does not disagree with this. Earlier, when I was thinking about what I wanted to say to you, I said to her, you know, when you were speaking about him, you weren't really speaking in love. And she said to me, that's true. I would say she was rallying the troops, as she sometimes does. A phrase she used along the lines of, let's go big comes to mind. You were in the position of an adversary who was doing something that she considers harmful, that she believes should be considered illegal already under existing laws, if those laws were to not be disregarded. But to say that she did not speak in love regarding you is not the end of the story. I want you to understand that, from my point of view, true love is sacrifice, such as when Jesus went to the cross and died for me and you. When my wife spoke about you, I don't think she was sacrificing herself for you. That's why I say she was not speaking in love. However, consider this. What's also true is my wife, Summer, is active in local politics and has been for many years now, including before your case. Much of the good work she does is not done visibly. She acts in the support of others and for God. But she knows that whenever she does speak publicly, it's likely to be misrepresented in the media, to be lied about, defamed, for her to need to contact publications to ask for retractions for mean-spirited errors, to be hated for doing what she believes to be right. She receives death threats. People call and leave voicemails pronouncing multi-generational curses against my children. I receive these as well, simply for being her husband. We occasionally receive white powder in the mail. Our neighbors receive letters in the mail denouncing her. Not related to your case, by the way. People do actually Photoshop pictures of her and distribute them as originals. But nobody prosecutes these people. In fact, nobody even investigates them. There are no defamation lawsuits except those which are against her. But she still presses forward, knowing all this, because she has courage and convictions. And that is sacrifice. Therefore, true love. It's a sacrifice she makes for her community and for God. So in your case, she was operating in love, but it was directed in another direction, towards protecting the children, and not towards you. And it should have been directed towards you as well. And I'm sorry that it wasn't. But this is not to throw her under the bus here either. It's hard to direct love in two directions at the same time, especially given the circumstances. That's why it's important to have grace in everything in life. And where there's an offense, mercy, forgiveness. What's also true is that I don't see what my wife sees in the so-called unedited footage. What I'm saying is, when looking at the raw footage, which does not have the blur applied over it, I don't see what she sees, or what that other person who testified at her trial sees. I see the absence of light, an area where the camera sensors picked up no light. Now, I've talked about this with Summer, including when this all first began, and what I can tell you is that she's sincere about what she believes she sees. I can also tell you that she's not alone. I've heard people in passing say they see the same thing as her. And remember, I'm telling you and everyone, that's not what I see. I don't believe anything can be seen. I think it's like the gold and blue dress, if you're familiar with that. It's like an ink blot. What you see in the void, in the shadow, in the shape, I think it draws from the mind's expectations of what it can't see. But that's why she can't apologize to you in the way that you would want. She would have to lie because it's what she believes. And while some people think she's a liar and she should just lie, she wouldn't lie in this case even to save her life, fairly literally, which only shows she's not. What's also true is 12 individuals have decided that you should receive $1.19 million for my wife's speech. Some think we have freedom of press and freedom of speech, but I don't. I pray for the next generation that someday they can experience that. If not able to be paid, you were to be given interest of more than $120,000 per year. That is more than $10,000 per month. Your attorneys have now added on their airline fees and expensive hotel stays and some other things. As my wife does not do her journalism for money, or fame, by the way, all this judgment has been given to me. She's offered to get another job and work, but at this scale, it doesn't matter. You see, even if 100% of my wages were garnished for the rest of my life, I would still die an old man owing you more than I owe you today, simply from interest alone. Each paycheck, after giving you all, I would owe you more than before. The longer I live, the more I would owe you. Which brings me to the second key thing which I'd like you to take away, which is love. You and I have never spoken. You don't know me. Until now, I don't believe I've ever spoken about you publicly. I've done nothing to you. And yet, out of more than 8 billion people on this planet, through a process of legal rules, it has been decided that I must give up my life for you. To that and everything else, this is what I have to say. I forgive you, and I love you, still, because God is my Father, and I do know Him, and I belong to Him, and my heart cannot be turned against you. As you know, my wife is appealing the case. I'm praying and asking God that He will help her to win that appeal, as I believe it should be appealed and that she should be found not guilty. I don't know what the outcome of the appeal will be, but in either case, what I intend to do is the same. I'm not a man of money. I don't have $1 million. But for God, there's no way that you'd receive what they've awarded you, and I would be your bondservant for the rest of my life. So I'm praying to my Father in heaven, if it's His will, that He would provide it. And if He does this, which I'm expecting He will, I will give you the $1.1 million even if my wife wins on appeal. I hope you heard what I just said. I want to be clear. I'm saying that even when, or if, we win my wife's freedom, if it's the Lord's will and He provides it, I will still give you what you want. In this, I intend to show you what love really is. Because I don't want you to be hurt if you lose this in the end after what others have led you to now expect. The money doesn't matter to me as much as you matter to me. And if it's the Lord's will that I give up my life for you, I accept. My wife and I have a saying, even if we lose everything, we still have each other. And we can huddle together in a drain pipe next to a fire, living in a van down by the river. But because of Jesus, my life doesn't end there, and I will take it back up again in the Lord's time. I'm showing you that God loves you, and that God's people, those who follow Jesus, really love you, even while we disagree with you, and we may stand against what you're doing in love, and for the right reasons, because we perceive an issue that you don't, yet. And finally, when I look at you, I don't see a bad person. I see someone who tries to be courteous. I think you're sincere. I see someone who wants to be recognized as having value. You do have value to God, to Jesus, and to me. And if you take away anything from this, from me, make sure among all that you receive, you also get this one thing. You need to get to know him